Here we go. Miami Dolphins and Tua. So I saw this amazing clip on Instagram. I popped it on mine. Jerry Seinfeld talking to Howard Stern. And just to get it right, Jerry Seinfeld said, "I'm never not working on material." And Howard Stern says, "Well, that sounds torturous." And Seinfeld says, "Well, life is torture. You know, you go to the gym, you're like, do I have to do this again? You go to sit down to eat, you want to kind of eat healthy. Do I have to eat healthy again? Life can be torturous." And I feel the same way. I'm constantly working on material and takes. You know me, hot take happy hour. I love it. I'm coming up with stuff all the time. I was at a volleyball tournament in Phoenix, and, you know, some dads will randomly come up to me and say, "Hey, J-Mac, big fan of the show, blah, blah." And he'll be wearing like a Dolphin shirt, and instantly I go into material. "Hey, where are you on Tua?" And I think people are surprised when I do that, but I just love hearing outsized opinions. I see a bartender in Phoenix. He watches the herd religiously. "Jay, we got this show on every day." And, you know, he's a Phoenix guy. I'm like, "Where are you on Durant?" He's like, "I'm kind of out on Durant." We'll talk about Durant later. Yes, that's the second Kevin Durant tease. KD, I apologize in advance. But regarding Tua and Miami, the story just came out. And it's from Jeff Darlington, a guy I know. I've hung out with him plenty. Nice guy. He is embedded in the Dolphins. He is very close to the organization. He's also close to the players because he's on the younger side. Darlington says the Dolphins are dug in their position and will not pay Tua a Goff or Trevor Lawrence type contract extension, okay? Doesn't sound good. Darlington goes on to say neither side has reached a panic point as of yet. Okay, that's what I'm going to call. Let me get a timeout, maybe a 20-second timeout. You know we like to start. Well, where does this story come from? How is this coming out now? Well, Lawrence got his deal, I believe, last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Goff got his. The market is now reset for quarterbacks. And you know Tua is probably not getting what he wants from Miami, so he and his camp go to a reporter who are going to put this out there and put some pressure on the Dolphins. Now, they say it hasn't reached a panic point, but when you're using the media to get what you want, it's almost like you reached a panic point. Now, here's where it gets fascinating, folks. Recently on the show, I came out and said, I hate blind resumes. They're making sports fans dumber. And I'm not going to say the network, but a old school network loves to go and put blind resumes on Instagram, and they'll put this Daniel Jones next to Trevor Lawrence, and they'll cherry pick stats to make the quarterbacks look kind of similar. Well, I do hate blind resumes, but in the staff meeting this morning, I said, hey, can we do a blind resume with Tua and, I don't know, find a quarterback. Let's just see what comes up. So I had the staff say, pull me a blind resume on Tua. Listen, you guys know I wanted to be a lawyer. Good lawyers will get both sides of the story. This is both sides of the story. I don't believe Tua deserves Goff or Lawrence type money, but this is Tua matched up with a quarterback that I'm not going to say his name. Yes, quarterback records they can be deceiving. Got it. Completion percentage, okay. Yards per attempt, ooh, wow, that's spicy. Tua's throwing the ball down the field. He's slinging it. Are those touchdowns real? Holy cow, passer rating? Who could we be talking about to match up Tua with? Oh, snap. I might have to go J.J. Redick and drop an F-bomb. What the hell? Is that real? Tua and Trevor Lawrence? And Tua's been unquestionably better? And it's not like, oh my gosh, 50 starts for 151. Wait a minute. How can this be? And Miami doesn't want to pay Trevor Lawrence type money? Well, Jay, come on. Tua's had the head injuries. Okay, Trevor Lawrence got banged up a couple times last season. I know Tua was one concussion away from maybe having to retire, but that was 2 years ago. And oh, by the way, once you bring up the head injuries and concussions in the negotiation with Tua, his camp is going to be like, yeah, we're doing everything we can. Remember last year he went and did jiu-jitsu and kind of bulked up so he could absorb hits better and know how to roll out of sacks and not get ragdolled. And oh, by the way, it paid off. Now, listen, I have not been a pay Tua guy. As I opened this little segment with, I said, Jerry Seinfeld's always doing material. I've had Dolphins material for the last year. They should draft a quarterback. I really implored them, go get Penix. Get Penix, lefty quarterback. You don't have to pay Tua. Seamless transition. It has a 49ers feel. Remember, the 49ers with Shanahan's are the ones who have now ushered Brock Purdy in after whiffing on Trey Lance. They didn't draft a quarterback. Penix went 8, so I guess they couldn't get him. But here's the weird thing. It's almost like Miami didn't see this coming because they didn't draft a quarterback the year before either. So their backup is now Mike White, the former Jets guy. He's nothing like Tua. Okay. Skylar Thompson is their third stringer. The Dolphins don't have a safety net if this Tua thing goes awry. We're looking at franchise tag, which Tua's going to hate because it gives you no insurance on the back end should you get an injury. And also, it doesn't give the Dolphins like a future. What does it say to Tua? Hey, we like you. We don't want to put a ring on it. We'll put like a promise ring. I don't even know what that is. I've never given a promise ring to a girl. But like, we promise we want to be with you. We got to do the franchise tag. It's just all signs are pointing bad for Miami. Now, maybe they figure it out. And maybe there's a world where both sides come to a conclusion. But this feels like Miami was ill prepared for this. And they have botched this badly. And folks, I know their Vegas win total is 9.5. Let's pull up the schedule real quick. Let's call this schedule up. Look at the end of the schedule. Okay? Their final 6 games. They face a playoff team from last year in the Packers in Green Bay, probably going to be below 40. Then they face the Jets, who are probably going to win the division, assuming Aaron Rodgers is still standing. Then they're at Houston, a playoff team from last year, versus San Fran, Super Bowl team from last year, at Cleveland in freaking January. It's going to be single-digit temperatures. And then at New York in January, where it's also going to be freezing. This is horrendous. And it reeks of what happened last year with Miami, where they collapsed down the stretch after leading the division. Mike McDaniel talked about finishing strong earlier this offseason.
Well, why not find ways to emphasize finishing in everything you do? Obsess about it. You're trying to have staff meetings at different times during the day, and I had every staff meeting I put like at 7:24 or 3:24 or 5:24, like the number 24. Okay? To you guys, it means nothing. That's how many years it's been since the organization's won a playoff game. We are going to hear about that come playoff time. You think?
Miami, we got some problems. Let's go to Alex Curry with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
We got some more contract talk, but let's head to San Francisco because Brandon Ayuk has been looking for a long-term deal after a booming wide receiver market this offseason. Now, Ayuk reportedly requested a meeting with the team on Monday, and although he didn't come out with a new deal, reports indicate that it was a good meeting. Additionally, the meeting led to the understanding that the 49ers don't want to trade him, and Ayuk doesn't want to be traded. So, at least they're kind of leaning towards him not continuing to hold out come training camp. But it's a good sign for the 49ers, right? This is a win now season, possibly the last season that they'll have all of these guys together. They still have Brock Purdy on his rookie deal, a guy who got you to the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl in his first 2 seasons. And the 49ers are favored in every single game this season. So if they want to live up to that expectation, they're going to need their number 1 receiver, which was Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah. So
it's going to be interesting because obviously it's the number that they're not totally agreeing on at the moment.
Alex, I've lost track of how many meetings they've had with Ayuk. Remember before the draft, and then they came out, we don't want to trade Ayuk. We don't want to trade. Draft happens, they don't trade him. They draft a receiver.
Yeah.
And now Ayuk chirping recently on TikTok or whatever it was.
It was on TikTok,
right?
FaceTiming Jaden Daniels saying they don't want me.
So now the 49ers
assuming it was the 49ers.
Another meeting with him. Hey, Brandon, everything's okay. We don't want to trade you. Look, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Something's going on that ain't good.
Well, it's the number. What are they going to agree on, and what is he going to agree to, right? It's going to have to be creative accounting. They just gave Christian McCaffrey an extension, and it's something that they can do. So it's if they want to do it, how much, how many years, like what's going to happen.
Does it sound like fun babysitting Brandon Ayuk? Because that's what's happening here. I mean, really, he is clearly a problem. This is reaching Stephon Diggs levels in Buffalo.
It's not as
Alex,
bad.
You remember.
I think the FaceTime video TikTok was a bit too far.
Bro, stay off social media.
But that's what guys are doing right now. We're seeing what Klay Thompson just swept his entire social media of all Warriors stuff. We've seen so many players do this when they're trying to get money. It's one of the, I guess, public polls that they have to kind of get their attention to show that this is what they want and they're not going to they're not going to move and budge until they get what they want. So
you know what I like? I
What?
like guys that don't give me headaches. And I would guess the Niners are getting a lot of headaches from Brandon.